Look at this photograph. Dorothea Crane, taken in the autumn of 1904, standing in the parlor of her home at 14 Belmore Lane, Whitby. She is dressed in mourning black. Her hands are folded in front of her. Her expression is composed, perhaps even serene. Now look at her shadow on the wall behind her. The widow's shadow held a knife. Her hands in the photograph are empty, folded, clearly visible. 10 fingers interlaced, palms together. But the shadow cast onto the floral wallpaper behind her shows the right hand extended, gripping what appears to be a narrow-bladed instrument. A knife. The shadow does not match the body that supposedly cast it. This is forbidden archive tales. And today, we are conducting a forensic image analysis of catalog entry W/904/31. One photograph, one anomaly, and the documentation that surrounds it. Pass 1. Objective image description. The photograph is an albumin silver print, approximately 6 by 8 inches, mounted on standard cabinet card stock. The studio stamp on the reverse reads, Halford and Daughters, Commercial Photographers, Whitby. The subject, Dorothea Crane, age 41, stands roughly 4 feet from the rear wall. A single gas lamp is positioned to her left and slightly above, creating a shadow that falls to the right and behind her onto the wall. The shadow of her head, her shoulders, and her left arm correspond precisely to her posture. The shadow of her right arm does not. In the photograph, her right hand is folded over her left, resting against her abdomen. In the shadow, the right arm extends outward at roughly 40 degrees from the body, and the hand terminates in a thin, straight protrusion, approximately 9 inches long. The proportions are consistent with a paring knife or a narrow letter opener. There is no object in her hands. There is no object on any surface near her. The shadow holds something that the woman does not. Pass 2. Documentation. The Halford Studio logbook, now held in the Whitby Regional Archive, contains the following entry for October the 11th, 1904. Quote, Mrs. Crane, mourning portrait, single exposure, plate 47. Anomalous shadow noted upon development. Client was recalled for a second sitting. Second plate, number 48, produced identical result. Plate 47 retained for file. Plate 48, given to client at her insistence. End quote. They took the photograph twice. The shadow held the knife both times. A sworn affidavit, dated October the 19th, 1904, was filed by Eleanor Halford, the studio's principal operator. In it, she states, quote, I personally examined Mrs. Crane's hands before the second exposure. She carried nothing. She wore no rings, no bracelets, no pins that might produce a protrusion in silhouette. I adjusted the gas lamp myself. The shadow fell as shadows do, except for the right hand, which displayed an object I could not account for. End quote. Eleanor Halford had been a working photographer for 22 years. She had no history of fraud, no debts, no connection to spiritualist circles. She simply documented what the camera recorded. Pass 3. Escalation through measurement. In 1912, the Whitby Photographic Society conducted a geometric analysis of the image as part of a broader study on optical distortions in gas-lit portraiture. Their report, published privately, contains precise measurements. The shadow's head is 14% larger than predicted by the lamp-to-subject distance. This falls within normal penumbral variation. The shadow's left arm matches the subject's arm length to within 3%. Acceptable. The shadow's right arm is 11% longer than the subject's actual arm, and the object in the shadow's hand, the knife, casts its own secondary shadow. Let me say that again. The knife in the shadow has a shadow of its own, a faint, shorter penumbral echo, consistent with a solid three-dimensional object positioned between a light source and a wall. But there was no object. Eleanor Halford swore to it. The plates confirmed it. Dorothea Crane's hands were empty. The shadow held a knife that behaved optically as though it were real, casting light interactions that a painted addition or a darkroom manipulation would not produce. The Society's report concludes with a single sentence. Quote, "We find no photographic explanation and therefore offer none." End quote. Pass 4. Context and modern interpretation. Dorothea Crane's husband, Arthur Crane, died on the 6th of March, 1904, 7 months before the photograph was taken. The official cause of death was cardiac failure. He was 44 years old and had no prior history of heart disease. A coroner's inquest was held, as was standard for unexpected deaths. The verdict was natural causes. No further investigation was pursued. Dorothea inherited the house, a modest pension, and Arthur's personal effects. She never remarried. She lived at 14 Belmore Lane until her own death in 1931. There is no evidence of foul play. There was never an accusation, never a whisper in the public record. But the shadow held a knife. In 2017, a digital imaging researcher at Leeds ran the photograph through computational shadow analysis software, the same type used in forensic authentication of crime scene photographs. The software confirmed that the shadow geometry is internally consistent. Meaning, if you assume a solid object shaped like a thin blade was present in the right hand, every angle, every gradient, every penumbral, fade matches perfectly. The software also confirmed that without such an object, the shadow cannot be produced by any known optical phenomenon, including refraction, reflection, gas lamp flicker, or plate degradation. The researchers' conclusion, published in an informal departmental note rather than a peer-reviewed paper, reads, quote, "The image is either the most sophisticated photographic forgery of the early 20th century, or it is accurate." End quote. Final pass. There is one more detail in this photograph, one that the Whitby Photographic Society noted, but did not discuss. Dorothea Crane's expression is serene. Her posture is composed. Her folded hands are relaxed. But the shadow's posture is not identical to hers. The shoulders in the shadow are rotated approximately 2 degrees further to the right. The head is tilted perhaps 1 degree to the left. These deviations are so small that they were only detected through overlay analysis. A casual observer would never notice. But they mean that the shadow is not standing exactly as Dorothea is standing. It is almost her shadow. Almost. The photograph remains in the Whitby Regional Archive. Catalog entry, W/904/31. Dorothea Crane, mourning portrait, October 1890. Correction, 1904. Her hands are empty. Her shadows are not. I want to know what you see when you look at this image. Does the shadow match the woman? Tell me in the comments. And if this is your first time here, subscribe to Forbidden Archive Tales. Every case is one photograph. Every photograph has something wrong with it.